Hi guys, so I wish just once, a journalist would ask Boris Johnson to explain the difference between a no-deal Brexit and this famous Australian-style deal that he keeps banging on about. Now, of course, there is no difference because they are the same thing. Now, unfortunately, Boris Johnson has convinced the public, or some part of the general public, that there is a difference and that he has the possibility of getting a deal. Now he's, of course, backtracking in a way, and he's saying, no, it's okay, we can go on WTO terms. Now, he's going to explain, actually he's not going to explain, he's going to pronounce that WTO terms are perfectly fine, which they are not.
The position is unchanged. There are problems. It's vital that everybody understands that the UK has got to be able to control its own laws completely.
Now, this is a pile of crap. Now, let me explain. Here is a fact-checking website, and I'll leave a link in the description. It says here, the UK is already a democratic sovereign nation with its own unwritten constitution, and it has its own rule of law. So it's false to say that leaving with no deal would make us these things once again. Now, it is important to understand that when the UK was a member of the European Union, EU laws that are applied in the UK are under the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. But UK laws, specific laws for the UK, have nothing to do with the EU. Now, at the bottom of the paragraph it says here, however, a no-deal Brexit wouldn't mean that every rule the UK follows is made in the UK. And this is true, and it's nothing related to Brexit. For example, we would remain members of international organizations like NATO and the WTO, and membership of these means following collective rules or decision making. So the UK will remain a part of the UN, it will remain a part of NATO, it will remain a part of the WTO. But in those organizations, you don't decide the rules. You're part of the organization that decides the rules, but you specifically don't decide the rules.
And also that we got to be able to control our own fisheries, and it remains the case that WTO terms would be more than satisfactory for the UK, and we can certainly cope with any difficulties that are thrown in our way. Not that we don't want a deal, but that WTO terms would be entirely satisfactory, and prosper mightily remains.
Now, a huge amount of the UK's GDP is generated through sales of services. So as the UK trades in services, it generates a huge amount of money for the exchequer, for the economy. Not fishing, services. Now Boris Johnson is saying, look, let's just run to the WTO. We can do everything through the WTO. Well, that's not true. Now I link this article in the description as well. I want you to read it. Don't take my word for it, but read the article. It's from The Conversation, and I've covered this before. It says here, services not covered. WTO rules barely cover trade in services, including financial services, which are very important to the UK, and transportation. So trading on only the WTO terms would mean no deal on air transport. Access to the EU single aviation market requires airline companies to have their headquarters and majority shareholdings in the EU, so airlines would have to relocate. So it's not plain sailing. There's also nothing in WTO rules that would allow UK-based banks to keep trading across the EU. This is why the government has said banks could set up subsidiaries in the EU. Now, we've seen how banks have been relocating to European countries. For example, recently there was one that moved to Amsterdam. When Boris Johnson says WTO terms, he's talking about physical trade. He's not talking about services. And even with WTO terms, it's not the same as having a free trade agreement with the EU. If you have a free trade agreement, if you're the best deal has always been membership. Complete free trade, tariff-free. But Boris Johnson and his government and the Brexiteers want to end free trade. They keep banging on about, we want free trade deals here, there, everywhere. That's not what they want. The best market they have, the biggest market, the most important market for the UK is the EU. And Boris Johnson is perfectly happy with imposing restrictions. I don't know how long it will take for people to understand this. People have been lied to once again. Boris Johnson is not honest. Boris Johnson is not levelling with people. And they're going to be convinced that WTO terms are the way to go. And I'm afraid he will succeed. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?